Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.
What up, man? I'm sitting here on a beautiful Friday night with the most handsome man in all of the land. I'm sitting here with Tony Hollingsworth. Tony, how we doing today?
I'm doing great, baby. How are you?
Man, what? Man, what? Like, I don't even know how to define how good today is. It's such a random day right before free agency started.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was on their way home at 4 p.m. I know all the people in Chicago media, Sports Center, talking ESPN 1000, 670 The Score. I know they're pissed because I know everybody was already clocked out in that home. My guy Kevin Lapka at The Score was in the car. I saw him on TikTok live. I mean, it was pissed. He was pissed. I mean, it was a beautiful day though, Tony. You want to inform the people of what's going on right now?
So our Chicago Bears, bear down, baby. They traded their number 1 overall pick for a good little haul from the Carolina Panthers and got Justin Fields a weapon in DJ Moore.
I mean, man, I'm looking at it. And yeah, Tony, I want to our first topic. First, we'll get into it. If you didn't see it when the episode first started, obviously the Chicago Bears in the 2023 draft will be getting the number 9 overall pick and the number 61st overall pick in 2023, a first rounder in 2024 guaranteed, and a second rounder in 2025 with a 25-year-old who's locked up until 2026 in DJ Moore, who right now, everybody on TikTok is saying I have the NFL script because I did a video back in October saying I thought we were going to trade for him at the deadline. Trust, I did not think we were getting DJ Moore in any way, shape, or form in this scenario. I thought the Chase Claypool trade would have been the DJ Moore trade. That's totally different. But I'm loving all the comments. Everyone thinking I got the script and I know what's going on. But I totally do. Tony, man, looking at 3 or 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons for DJ Moore with Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, a washed Cam Newton, PJ Walker, I believe. I was going to say Washington. PJ Walker and Matt Corral for like 2 seconds.
Yep.
Did we just get probably the best wide receiver the Bears have had since Brandon Marshall?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You know what he kind of reminds me of? Do you remember when D-Hop was with the Texans and D-Hop never had an actual stable franchise quarterback but continuously produced for years?
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets Deshaun Watson and then they're like, deuces.
Yeah, see you, bro.
Like to me, that's kind of what DJ Moore reminds me of. He's that guy that he's always been solid for Carolina. He's been one of the few offensive bright spots that they have. Now, kind of a counter question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this fully shows a like complete and total demolishing rebuild of Carolina? Because he's one of the few bright spots that was there. I mean, they traded Christian McCaffrey. You know, defensively, they're still solid. Like quarterback is a huge question mark. And other than DJ Moore, I mean, they have Terrace Marshall, which Terrace Marshall ain't bad.
Right.
But he's underperformed compared to, you know, his fellow LSU cohorts in, you know, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. So, I mean, is this a full Panthers rebuild now too?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Like, how? How is it?
Because I mean, think about it. They got to solve the quarterback situation, which they're probably going to do that now with the number 1 overall pick. They're going to pick somebody. We don't know who. We can make a 50-50 guess on that all we want.
Well, I did see today. Bleacher Report did come out with it saying that they're favoring CJ Stroud, which I think everybody kind of figured. But
yeah,
my question, like to you, to how are they even going to do that? Is, you know, when you look at a rebuild, you have draft capital or you get draft capital. And now you have 0 draft capital for the next 2-3 years. And you're looking at a situation where, you know, you might be, I mean, let's be completely real here. The Chicago Bears might have the number 1 overall pick again next year. I truly believe that. Like, I believe the Texans are going to get better. They just got Robert Woods. I think that's kind of that'll be a little bit more interesting than a lot of people think, depending on what happens with Brandon Cooks and company. But right now the Carolina Panthers, assuming C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, or Anthony Richardson, or anybody else, hopefully not Will Levis, actually ends up on this team, I doubt they play first and foremost. I don't think Frank Reich would play them in this year, especially without DJ Moore.
Right.
I think there's very rare instances where there's teams like San Fran who you could go there and be perfectly fine with being a rookie quarterback. Brock's proved that. You just have all the talent in the world. So I think right now, like you said, the only real bright spots is Burns and a couple other guys. And I think right now the Bears might be trading down next year, in a Caleb Williams type draft. So I want to tell you, like, I think they're going to rebuild, but I don't see through the draft how. Like, it just doesn't. I think whatever quarterback lands there, it's going to be a very bad time for a very long time.
Oh yeah, and honestly, that's been my big thing that's really my only knock I have against a lot of these like Power 5 quarterbacks, especially when they come out of Ohio State, when they come out of Bama, they're surrounded by first round talent absolutely everywhere. Like, you look at what CJ Stroud had, not this past season, but the season before. You had Chris Olave, you had Garrett Wilson, you had Jackson Smith and Jigba, you had Marvin Harrison Jr. Now he's moving away from that, and Justin Fields had those same wide receivers, and you look at how much he's struggled with the Bears so far. And we got Rob Scott.
Yo, what's
Robbie,
up, brothers?
I didn't see you, baby. I didn't see you. I had the thing on full zoom. I didn't see you.
It's all good. What's good? Mike Hughes, my boy Tony, what's happening?
Just living, brother.
What you think of this Bears trade? What you think of the Panthers now having the number 1 overall pick?
You know what? I think it benefits both teams. I really do. I think the Bears they've already found their quarterback in Justin Fields. I'm so glad to shut these rumors down that the Bears were even considering trading him. That would be stupid, be asinine. And I think that the Panthers, they're due for a good quarterback. And of course, to in order to get, you have to give up. And DJ Moore, unfortunately, in their system right now, I mean, what use is having a great receiver if you can't get a great quarterback? So I think right now you give up DJ Moore, you try to build off your quarterback of the future. And right now for the Bears, you truly have a number 1. I'm not saying DJ Moore is the number 1 of number 1s, but you have a true number 1 receiver in which you can do some things. If we're able to keep Claypool, if you're able to keep Moody, if you're able to keep some of those younger receivers, Komet, a great young tight end, now I think the Bears can get some things moving. Now, if I'm the Bears, I'm focused on let's get this O-line and this defense back to prominence.
Right. And that's really where I was at with it. And I was telling Tony, like, not to act like he's bigger than he is. But obviously this was the worst season for DJ Moore since his rookie year in 2018. He had, and in his worst year, he had 888 yards and 7 touchdowns.
That's still
and not to mention, in your worst year, you have Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold alternating positions.
Like, what do we? But you look at the other years, and you look at the targets now outside of his rookie year: 788 with 2 touchdowns, 55 receptions. 2019, 87 receptions, 1,175 yards, 4 touchdowns. 2020, 66 for 1,193. 2021, 93 receptions. That was a big one. You're looking at 1,157 with 4 touchdowns. And even in his worst season, statistically through yards, he had 7 touchdowns. He was a huge red zone threat. And that to me was the big jump where I'm like, yo, we don't have a red zone guy. Like, I thought it was going to be Claypool. Because Claypool, I'll give him one thing. He's a great red zone target. And I think that was something for me where I told Tony this back in October, and I always say it respectfully. Claypool, anybody who thought Claypool was going to be the one of the Chicago Bears' new regime and the Chicago Bears' new whatever you want to call this, like, attempt at being a dynasty, is full of shit, because Claypool just doesn't have those intangibles. And DJ Moore is one of those guys that, we talked about it with Greg, when he was talking about the Chiefs making a Super Bowl run. I felt like they should have went after, can you imagine DJ Moore and Patrick Mahomes? If Justin Fields could tap into that, this is the blueprint that the Eagles put together when they traded for AJ Brown.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And not to mention, and I don't want to sound like I stole this idea, but this was the exact same thing I was thinking. I heard this on ESPN NFL Live today. Now you're asking receivers to play your natural position. You're not looking at Claypool as a number one. You're saying Claypool be number two. Moody, continue to be the receiver you are. Now there's not that much pressure on you. Now you're going to get the one-on-ones that you want, because now you have a DJ Moore on the field that's going to garnish so much more attention, because that's still DJ Moore. And you say what you want about Justin Fields. I know a lot of people, you look at the analysts like Skip Bayless, you look at other analysts out here that saying they wonder if he still has the accuracy. I mean, look what he did for Ohio State. I mean, I know it's hard to look back at college, but when you actually give a guy some weapons, you don't know, now we can really judge how accurate he is. And I think Justin Fields is an accurate quarterback. I look at some of those passes that he threw. A lot of those passes were dropped, which is why he had to run for his life and almost break the single season rushing yard from a quarterback standpoint. I mean, this guy is amazing. Now you're adding his legs with some weapons. I just can only imagine how great his season is going to be. Justin Fields is going to be a monster next year. And don't be surprised if we're looking at most improved player of the year.
100%.
Yeah. And like I was telling Mike earlier, Rob, I mean, I look at a lot of these quarterbacks, you look at Justin Fields, you look at Bryce Young, you look at CJ Stroud, these guys that come from Power 5, two of the best colleges in college football, and they produce first-round picks on every single side of the ball. And then you stick them in a franchise that doesn't have a whole lot of weapons, like, take Carolina and take Houston right now. If CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are the first two quarterbacks off the board, whoever goes to Houston technically at the current moment may have a little bit better of a chance, just because, they're going to have Robert Woods. Brandon Cooks probably won't be there anymore. Frankie mentioned it, the Robert Woods to Houston, what a downfall. Honestly, I mean, he didn't really do much for Tennessee last year either. He was there for most of the games. Yes, Frankie, I'm still a Cowboys fan, but I like the Bears. I grew up watching the Bears. The Bears are my other team. Okay.
Leave Tony alone. All right?
Down, sir. I'm still a Cowboys fan, but I love the Bears. But no, I mean,
Dub Nation, baby.
Like you said, Rob. I mean, you take these guys that they have this massive production in college. Like I was telling Mike, the first four receivers that Justin Fields and CJ Stroud both had, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, those are their first four. Like, your four-string wide receiver is an all-pro, going to be a first-round talent here in like a year or so in next year's draft. You can't help but be great when you have that type of talent with you. Now, if it was me, like, I ain't looking at CJ or Bryce Young as my franchise quarterback if I'm one of those teams. You know who, honestly, I would go after because I would expect them to be able to improvise a little bit better? I'm going after Anthony Richardson, and I'm not saying that just because, he's kind of got that new hype, but Florida, Florida was a dumpster fire this year. Like, he doesn't have all that first-round talent around him, so he's going to have to be used to making things work as he's going out into these NFL games and having to just play with what he's got. Whereas Bryce and CJ, they've been spoiled. You get first-round talent all around the ball, that's what you got to get. And you're not going to those teams because most of those teams already have their franchise quarterback in place, which is why they're not in that position to pick you to start with.
Right, and I think that's something, not a lot of people take into consideration. Like, I was one of those guys that kind of looked at it, and I was like, you look at the first 4 games, and Anthony Richardson didn't throw a single touchdown, and that's pretty shitty. But I also look at the season Justin Fields had, and this isn't to put Anthony Richardson in that box or that same category, but once he realized, and this is the Mike Hughes show, baby, so we can say what we want to say over here. Once he realized, fuck these guys, I'm running, and he kind of made his own offensive scheme, it changed everything. Yep. It changed absolutely everything. When Anthony Richardson started using his legs, not only did it benefit the team as a whole, but it benefited the wide receivers, and you started to see more touchdowns. It wasn't anything crazy. It was maybe he would throw 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1 and 1. It wasn't – he never really had a game where I was like, Anthony Richardson really popped off. But he was very consistent the remainder of the season with what he had. Where I look at a guy like Will Levis, and Tony will go on and on for hours and tell you about this, the man did not – do anything against shitty teams, and he looked really bad against the good ones.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny you mentioned that, Tony. And the reason I say that is because we look at the NFL today. We look at Tua Tagovailoa, a guy who comes from
Say
the
it again.
Alabama
Say it again.
system. Tua Tagovailoa.
Ooh.
You know you got to give these guys their names the right pronunciation. But you know that you look at Tagovailoa, and you look at the year he had last year in his rookie season. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You look at this guy who people started to question who he was. Now you give him a Jalen Waddle, you give him a Tyreek Hill, and before the injuries, a lot of people were saying Miami were looking like the favorites to win it all. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. You can't judge these guys coming out of these top schools, you know, and give them shit and say, "Hey, I want you to make magic happen." Look at the weapons that these guys had when they were leaving school. I mean, you look at a guy like Chase Burrow, who's lucky. Oh, let's say Chase Burrow, Joe Burrow, my boy Smoking Joe. You look at a guy like Joe Burrow, who's lucky enough to keep a guy like Jamar Chase around him, who played with this guy in college, who then gets to play with this guy in the NFL,
Right.
and you wonder why he's already one of the top quarterbacks rated. He has a weapon to throw it to. Even the great Tom Brady, who we're not saying he came from a top school, but Tom Brady looked very average until he got Randy Moss, and I think that created his legend.
Right, definitely. And I love what you said right there, because definitely it's fuck Michigan, but you know, it's definitely something that I
100%.
think 100%. It's definitely something though that I think, and I'm happy you brought that up, is the connection. And I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on it because, you know, I came on here and I said the Bears are going to trade the number 1 pick to Carolina. I said it. I was like, that's what's happening. But I had a follow-up, and I said they're going to draft Jackson Smith-Njigba because he played in Ohio State with Justin Fields for a very small period of time.
And that's when I gave you the rebuttal. I said, no, they're going to get DJ Moore. Remember, I said that. I said, if they give it to Carolina, DJ Moore is coming over here. And I know you question, like we said, he's not the number one of number ones, but he's better than what we got.
And that was my big thing. Rob and I, we did have that conversation.
Yeah, we did.
But I didn't think Rob was right. I thought, why in God's name would you trade all your assets and DJ Moore to get a quarterback and leave him with nothing? And I think today that question was answered because we're the Carolina Panthers, and that's what we do. You know, that's really is really what it is at the end.
I mean, they did give us Julius Peppers and Moose Muhammad.
Oh, yeah, they did. But we did give them Greg Olsen. So
we did. We really did. Oh my God, what a mistake that was.
We had Martellus Bennett out here putting Kyle Fuller in a headlock, body slamming motherfuckers. I mean, whatever. But I like Marty. Marty's good people. But
and plus, don't forget, I mean, the free agency market ain't gonna be bad. Like, you've already got Adam Thielen out there. Like, Adam Thielen could honestly be a decent wide receiver for him for at least another
definitely
couple
gonna
years.
get Brandon Cooks in the mix.
Yes,
Brandon Cooks. Yep.
But I wanted to ask you guys this. You know, we have these conversations. Waddle had the connection with Tua, obviously, at Alabama. Then you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I mean, what a ride that's been all the way from LSU to now. In your opinion, is the big drawback you think for polls looking at a guy like JSN? Tony and I talked about this backstage. The best ability is availability. And one thing DJ Moore is already solidified. Team-friendly deal. Don't got to extend him. He's here till 2026. And JSN missed the entire season and the playoffs. I think that was – if JSN's healthy, Tony, do you think we go after DJ Moore, or do you think we draft a guy like Jackson?
I mean, if it's me looking at it, I would go after DJ because he's proven. And this is the other thing that I don't think people always take into account. If I'm looking at I need a wide receiver, am I going to go after a guy, like you said, missed all of college, the regular seat? Well, not all of college. He played like a couple snaps. But
we'll
for
call
the
it for what it is.
Yeah,
Kevin
for the
White
part,
2.0.
Exactly. Like, am I going to take a risk on a guy like that who has, you know, the talent? Like, he could 100% be a number 1 wide receiver in the league with no problems. Or am I going to take a guy that is a little bit older but has the experience and is still young? I'm going to go with the experienced guy because I know he can play.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. When healthy, Jackson Smith-Njigba, probably one of the best wide receivers. But that's what really threw me off about this past season is the fact that, you know, if you didn't want to play, if you're like, hey, I'm going to focus on just being in the NFL, like I'm just and do kind of like I don't know if you remember. I think it was Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa kind of did that. He played like what 3 or 4 games. He was like, I'm done. Like
Right.
I'm gonna go in the
Which I
NFL.
got. Like I understood
Right.
it, you know.
But at least like come out and say that, because if I'm a GM, if I'm a head coach, I'm gonna respect that more if you just come straight up to me like, hey, I sat out my last season because I already proved that I'm one of the best. I already did what I needed to do. I'm not trying to risk myself in college. Because maybe he wasn't fully bought into it. I don't know what his reasoning is, but at least show that you're a big enough man to be like, nope, not doing it. I'm gonna focus on me. I'm gonna get ready for the draft. I'm gonna get ready to go pro. Like, but that's just me.
Nah, definitely. And it's crazy though. It's crazy though because we're looking at it right now and we're kind of jumping all over the place. We're definitely going to come back and forth through everything, but it's an exciting time, baby. We got things to talk about. Free agency
It
coming
is.
up. I think it's going to be all right. Well, I had to
Hold on.
pull up Frankie.
Let's
I had to pull
hold
up
on.
Frankie's topic.
Let's show some love to Tony for a second. Tony, how do you feel about the Cowboys placing the franchise tag on Tony Pollard?
I mean, I'm a big fan. I would be a bigger fan if they would just go ahead and cut Zeke. Because, I mean, Zeke is – I don't know if y'all remember – well, actually, y'all probably do remember. Y'all remember when y'all signed Marion Barber? Like,
yes.
Marion Barber,
yes.
Marion Barber was not y'all's, like, number one, like, he's going to be our every down back. He's our goal-to-go short back option. Like, and that's what he was. Marion the Barbarian, he was great for that. That reminds me of what Zeke has basically become now. He's just too damn expensive for that. Like, to me, Tony is the first, second, and third down back, depending on how long the third down is. If it's like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, I'm maybe going to go with Zeke. But I mean, I'm a big fan of it because I feel like they're finally starting to recognize that Tony Pollard can be a multi-gadget weapon. Like, I honestly thought they might do it with Schultz. I'm like, man, you got 2 other decent tight ends that are young right behind him. For whatever reason, they've been able.
I love
to
Dalton Schultz though. I won't lie. I made some money off Dalton Schultz this year.
Hey, he's great. Like, to me, he's kind of one of those underrated guys. Like, he's consistent. Like, he's got sure hands. Like, he'll get you to first down. He kind of is going to be a little bit of a stretch to say, and it's almost an insult to the man himself. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Jason Witten. Like, he's the security blanket. Like, he's not going to be statistically up there, but he's going to make the plays you need him to make.
Right.
I get you. No, I get that comparison. I mean, Jason Witten, no, Jason Witten was like one of those guys that just, he surprised you. Like, oh, he's this far deep into the end zone, or like, you know what I mean? Like, once the ball goes his way, he's going to catch it. That man has some of the surest hands in the league. Right. But his speed to kind of get you off guard. Like, he'll get a half step on a defender, and you look up, and he's like 20 yards deep. You like, damn, I didn't realize he got that far back.
100%. Hey, Tony, before we get back on the Bears, though, there is a Cowboys thing I got for you. I've seen a couple rumors going around. Trading for D-Hop is definitely in the conversation right now for the Cowboys. Yeah, are you into that or nah?
No. It's one, he's what, like 31, 32 right now?
Something like that.
And he's been injured a lot. Like, he's been injured a lot throughout his career. And again, he's one of those, when he's healthy, he's a great dude. Like, I can't deny that. But it's one of those, he's going to be asking for too much money for us to have to pay him just to not be there.
Right. Yeah, I think that's definitely and that's definitely the conversation too. Like, a lot of Bears fans thought, yo, listen, we should trade for Devontae Adams or trade up for a situation with DeAndre Hopkins or something like that. And I think, you get a guy like DJ, 25, no injury history, knock on wood, but it's something where it's completely different to alter your franchise with a guy who's 25 because you have more time. Where a guy like D-Hop, I think it's going to be really, really hard to keep him on the field, especially with guys like Gallup and CD who are already banged up as well. And I mean, come on, the guy who just got tagged has a broken fibula. So I mean, there's a lot, and don't even get me started on Dak. But there's so much going on right now. Dak, Dak.
And Frankie just asked me the question: D-Hop or Michael Gallup? I ain't gonna lie, Frankie. I'm gonna take Gallup, and I say that because he's been with the team for a while.
Are you saying fully healthy?
Fully healthy, I'm gonna still take Gallup.
Oh, I love
And
Tone.
well, I say this not only because of a little bit of like Cowboys bias, but have you
Oh, a
seen
little
Gallup do
bit.
them toe? Have you seen Gallup do them toe drag like catches, man?
I have. And have you also seen in the Air Jordan gloves, this man mossed 3 people in 1
3
second
receivers.
Yes.
I mean, 3 defenders. It was
and then
crazy.
give the ball to his mama in the stands? Come on, how
The,
can you hate
the
him?
the only reason I would agree with Tony is just from a executive standpoint.
Yeah,
If
he for sure.
I can keep Gallup, I can give CeeDee Lamb a little bit more money, and I can go get a Thielen
Right,
possibly.
100%. But I
Yeah.
do want to get back to it because we got a couple questions for you guys. I gotta ask, and Frankie wants me to pull up a picture of KD. If you guys can see those comments, he's screaming, "Do it!" Not doing it. Not if we were talking Bulls. If this was bullshit, I would do it. But I'm looking at it. I got this picture pulled up. I'm ready to show it. We got the number 9 overall pick. I don't know where Tony just went, but
Tony.
it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I think looking at this picture right here is everything for me. So number 9 overall, I think you're foolish if you don't address the offensive line.
Have to. You have to. You now have some weapons now. DJ Moore changes a lot. He does. We have a true number one receiver, as I mentioned earlier. You now have the receivers you have currently on the roster being able to play in their natural positions as number 2 or number 3s or even slot receivers. So I think now is the time that you have to give Justin Fields some protection, because not only giving him the protection is going to allow him to extend plays to get it to those receivers, but getting him that protection is going to make his legs even more valuable as a runner. I mean,
Right.
you get Justin Fields some protection now. I'm going to see a lot of teams having to run QB spot, which is going to take a defender out of the backfield to keep an eye on Justin Fields from breaking the tackle. Because once he breaks a tackle, he's gone. He's
Right.
almost like a sure thing as a running back. He breaks a tackle or two, he's out of there. And I think that's going to really hurt teams. And not to mention the running game that we have now in David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. I
Right.
mean, oh my God, that's going to be a 1-2 punch. I mean, right now, if you're not focusing on your defensive line and your offensive line being the majority of your problems, then you're stupid if you're in the organization.
Now there's conversations going around about David Montgomery being a free agent and him wanting to return to the Chicago Bears, it being team friendly. I think Rob Scott, I'm gonna keep it a bean with you. I don't like David Montgomery on this team. I really don't. I don't think he's the guy. I think he's a great dude. I think he works his ass off. I think he is an amazing teammate and he's somebody that you want in this organization. But as a RB1, I don't look at David Montgomery as a difference maker. I think a lot of people look at the stats and they say after contact, he has the best yardage per touch or whatever you want to call it. I think you look at it like that though, for the reason being, I think sometimes he just lacks vision. I think, a lot of people, they find holes that aren't there. Like Khalil Herbert, you talk about Khalil Herbert all the time. I love Khalil Herbert. I think Khalil Herbert is a stud, and I thought he should have been RB1 to go into this season because when there's not a hole to be found, Khalil Herbert finds that hole. And David Montgomery is one of those guys. He kind of sits there, waits, kind of gets in the mix of things, and then just plows right through everybody, which is perfectly fine in the 1980s. Perfectly fine if we're rocking with Sweetness and Gale Sears and Matt Forte. But we're in a different age now where you need guys to be able to catch the football. You need guys to be able to be elusive and be athletic. And you're starting to see David Montgomery get a little bit more banged up because of these hits. And I think that's going to be a big problem for him moving forward. So,
well, you know what? You know what, though? To that point, and I mentioned this to you before, the Montgomery Herbert tandem kind of reminds me of Thomas Jones and Cedric Benson, because Thomas Jones he was more of your patient back. Right. He wasn't going to immediately blast through a hole. He'll sidestep and keep his feet moving until the hole opened up for him. And Cedric Benson was kind of more of a I'm gonna make something happen type of back. And you kind of look at Montgomery and Herbert in that aspect. But what I will say to David Montgomery's defense I want to see how he's going to perform with an actual offensive line
Right. And
that
that's the
does
difference.
make these holes for him.
Right. And that's the key difference, I think, and to your point too, a good one I think is Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen. I think that's exactly how I look at
Perfect.
guys like that.
Yeah.
Like we already had that. But I want to ask you this, because I know Tony's probably cleaning up some cat puke right now. But for me, I look at a guy like Derrick Henry being available. I look at a guy that you could potentially say him and Justin Fields could take the Bears all the way to the NFC Championship game if they get this defense right. Are you interested in trading for Derrick Henry if it is potentially possible? You got a whole squad: Justin Fields, Derrick Henry, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, and Chase Claypool. Or would you rock out with David and Herb?
I mean, of course. I mean, I look, and Derrick Henry has had his fair share of injuries too, as of
100%.
late. But that's because I think, honestly, with Tennessee, they were just using him like a racehorse. I mean, you just put everything you could
Bro is a
on this guy.
bulldozer.
You put all your hopes and dream on this guy and say, "Run, Derrick, run." But I think with the Bears, honestly, Derrick Henry could become a force to be reckoned with. I think he fits more the Bears football style, which is smash mouth. The Bears have never
Right.
been a finesse team, even in the great days of McMahon. And we relied on defense. The '85 Bears team relied on defense. We were smash mouth. We were up in your face. We were gonna do the Super Bowl shuffle, and we was gonna come through your city and wreak havoc. And I think that's what the Bears have to get to. I'm not saying that we'll ever get back to the monsters of the Midway, not the '85 Bears, not the '06 Bears when Urlacher was the captain of the ship. I mean, but I think right now, if you can get that defense to be a little bit more dependable, and you can bring in a running back like a Derrick Henry, and you can really play smash mouth football with, you don't know what him or Justin Fields is gonna do, and we got the money.
Right. But hey, listen, here's what I've told Tony. I don't think I've ever told you, but it's my ideology, and I've had this since 2018 broke my heart on a cold January morning on 2019. When we had the double doink happen, when everything transpired, I said, listen, I'm gonna rock out one more year and I'm gonna see what happens. We went 8-8 with Khalil Mack, all these guys, Eddie Jackson, Roquan Smith, Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn, who had over 19 sacks in 2020, 2021. And I started thinking to myself, I said, I think we could be the monsters of the Midway again. But I think the monsters need to be the offense. I think the monsters are always Richard Dent. You're looking at, Mike Singletary. You're looking at Peanut
Refrigerator.
Tillman and Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs. Doug Plank, Doug Atkins, all these guys, the list goes on. And you start thinking to yourself, damn, Otis
Alex
Wilson.
Brown,
Yeah,
Julius
Alex
Peppers.
Brown,
Oh my
Otis
God!
Wilson.
Don't have me going back to the defense.
Man,
Tommy
but
Harris, Mike Brown. When Mike Brown was healthy, oh my God!
dude, buckets. I mean, the list goes on of guys that you
Don't
look
have
at.
me going back down memory lane.
It's crazy though. It's crazy though, because you can go back down memory lane. But when you think about the monsters, I'll name two guys, and that's it: Gale Sears and Walter Payton. There are no other monsters of the Midway idols that you would look at and say they played offense. And I think that's the understanding that I think the Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles need to instill. And that's kind of what they're doing right now. You bring in DJ Moore. You bring in Justin Fields. You bring in, let's say, Tony, I was going to wait for you until we got into it. But, there's this kid out of Northwestern who plays offensive tackle, stud. His name's Peter
Skolinsky.
Thank you. Skolinsky,
exactly
you got Paris Johnson Jr., who they're going to be meeting with in a couple weeks, or they've already met with him. I don't remember exactly when that date was. But yeah, I think when you look at the monsters of the Midway, we got to let go of 85. I love 85. 85 will be forever. Buddy Ryan, all of them. But Tony, is in an offensive driven league, do the monsters need to start being offensive players and the defense be second?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you say 85, because I was going to ask both of you, speaking of number 85 for the Chicago Bears, Cole Kmet. Mike, I know you've had a love-hate relationship with him, because I've seen it in the chat, and I ain't gonna lie, watching him, he's one of those dudes that I feel like he has the potential, but every time he gets on the field, he kind of underperforms. I ain't saying he's got to go out here and have like Gronk type numbers or Travis Kelce. Like, he ain't got to do all that. but you got to show me a little bit more of something that's like, hey, they've at least got a big tight end that's like a red zone threat, like he's available for a touchdown. Like I've watched a lot of Bears games, and I'm like, where's Cole Kmet? Where are you at, buddy? What you doing?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's like, I know you're not gonna be Gronkowski, but can you be a Kyle Rudolph?
Yeah,
Can you be a Darren Waller? Like can you give me something, dude?
Right. Like, hey, can you be a Jason Witten? Like, you ain't gotta go out there. You ain't gotta get 12 touchdowns a season. I ain't asking for that. Like, go get like 5 or 6. Just be in the end zone. Just be available. Like, get me the first down.
And I think we kind of started to see that. And the one thing I love about Cole, and I got to see it in person. The kid played baseball, so I love my baseball guys, and I saw him at Wrigley Field smack a couple home runs, which was sick. But I love the home run celebration touchdown that he has, and I love that little stint, that little window. And I forget what the exact stat is, but he finished this year top 5 in the NFL at the tight end position, and in certain categories. He was, and they weren't like blocking categories. They were like legitimate, I am a receiver categories. And I loved that for him. And I felt like before he got a little banged up, he was really like becoming him. And I think we were starting to see that. But, tight ends take a minute. And I recognize that. And that's why I think I was a little hard on him, is because, you look at guys like George Kittle that we passed up on for Adam Shaheen. And I just got a little bit trust issues with the tight end position for the Bears. But, you lose Greg Olsen. I mean, it's just, just don't get me going.
That one probably blew my mind the most. I remember when I first saw that they traded. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
And a big thing I heard was he just didn't, like, him and Jay just did not mess with each other at all. And, looking back on it, you made the worst decision possible. But to get into that, Tony, you look at this situation where Cole Kmet is going to be asking for a contract extension. And there isn't too much to go off of, but there isn't too much to not be excited about. Do you think that's more of a team-friendly deal, and you think they get that done before the season starts?
I mean, I'm one of those, like, I would be probably a terrible executive because
I just be giving shit out.
Oh no, I don't. That's where I'm being the opposite. I'm not giving stuff out. And I say that because I would look at these dudes, I would look them in the face and be like, look, what do you want more? Do you want to win a championship, or do you want to get paid? Because you look at it, how many of these dudes earn like top dollar type money, and at the end of the year they're holding up the Super Bowl trophy?
Don't make me do it, Tone.
Like except
Tony.
Say, with the exception of like what, Patrick Mahomes right now, but he ain't even the highest paid quarterback right now.
Ask that question one more time. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Tony. Ask the question.
Go ahead and play the video, Mike. Go ahead and play a video, Mike.
Go ahead, ask the question.
How many dudes do you see at the end of the season that's one of the top paid, or actually, sorry, I'm going to reword that. That is the top paid at their position, holding up the Super Bowl trophy at the end of the year.
Gonna fight for your right to party! No.
Now, with that, you look at the quarterback. What did Patrick Mahomes do? He signed a big deal, but is team friendly. The Chiefs can kind of maneuver around. They can work with that. What else did they do? They got rid of Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill said, I want to be the highest paid. I want my money. So they went out and they got a bunch of dudes on for cheap.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
Hey, you know what, though? Pat Mahomes learned from the GOAT. And he learned from Tom Brady. There's a way to still make your money.
Oh, yeah.
But make your team competitive.
Right.
And I'm sorry, you can be, and I said this last year when people were giving Justin Fields shit. You can be Jesus Christ himself, and I don't mean blasphemy, my Lord and Savior. But nobody was going to be able to survive that Bears offensive line last year.
Not at all.
Nobody.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's my point. Tony, that's a great point, because that's how many guys are making top money that's holding up the Super Bowl trophy at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a lot, because
it's like not.
That,
I mean, hey, I'm a pitch something to Tony real quick, and I'm ready to watch him smack it out of the fucking park. What happened to Aaron Rodgers the second he got paid after he won his Super Bowl?
Became a fucking bum.
Crazy. Crazy. But
Like,
no, it's true. And Tony gets into that. I want Tony to go crazy in it. But Tony had this amazing point, and if you could say it better than I could, about what happened after Rodgers got paid and how the offense, just like, you know, the Jordy Nelsons of the world, the Devontae Adams started to leave, and how that changes everything. I mean, it's crazy. And I think the percentage of how hard it is to win a Super Bowl when your quarterback is 40% of the salary cap is like you have a 10% chance. So Pat, as great as he is, that's an anomaly. And it
Yeah.
He's
probably isn't
smart.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
He's smart. He said,
Mhm.
I'm going to get my money over time. But right now, if I can hold back on a couple mil here,
Yeah.
so you guys can keep a guy like Travis Kelce around, so we can, hey, I have to throw shots at Aaron Rodgers too. So we can go get a guy like Valdez Scantling
Yep.
and bring him to this roster who made incredible catches during that postseason run for the Chiefs.
Hey, and you know, the only thing I think the little drawback there is you might need to hit up the organization and ask for a little bit more money, because you're gonna have to bail out your shithead brother because he's making out with every waitress on every single corner. But you know,
Oh Lord Jesus.
which wow, first of all, wow, because shocker. I'm not gonna get into that. I was
Yeah.
shocked. I was shocked.
I know exactly what you mean, Mike. I was like, what?
I was just like, hey man, whatever. Cool. I just cool. That's all I'm gonna say.
But to
Interesting.
semi bring it back, you got to think about it. Up until Patrick Mahomes won this one, well, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Matt Stafford in that order. You look at all the quarterbacks before, when they typically won their Super Bowl in the last like 10 years, they were on rookie deals, with the exception of both Mannings and like Nick Foles, and then obviously Brady.
Carson was technically on that rookie deal though, right?
Yes, he was.
Hold on, and I don't want to interrupt, but I'm watching the news right now, and I love to see it. Chase Claypool tweeted, "Oh, the Bears we making moves, baby, bear down." You love to see it. You love to see it.
I love it. But I think it's going to be really interesting, and if you guys don't mind, because you know how much I love Justin. I say it time and time again. Him and I are the same age, same graduating class. Him and Trevor Lawrence, I watched every single highlight video, every single Max Prep Sports statistic. We'd be on our little dinky computers in whatever class I was supposed to be in, and we'd just be watching their highlights. I watched them on QB1 Beyond the Lights at Georgia, Ohio State, everywhere. You know I love them. But going into year 4, year 3? I believe it's year 3.
Yeah, year 3.
Going into year 3, to me, with what we've acquired, assuming we get an Orlando Brown, Mike McGlisky, however you pronounce his name, out of San Francisco, you get a guy like Paris Johnson Jr. or say his name out of Northwestern, Tony?
Oh, Skolansky,
Peter Skolansky, someone like that. You fix everything, and you still don't see Justin Fields improve. What are the conversations like? And because to me, that's why I'm just so excited about this, because Rob and I talked about this all the time. I can't break down how Justin Fields is as a passing quarterback until he has help. And I got so tired of screaming that, and I got so tired of saying it, because at some point you just got to shut the fuck up and let the kid ball. Because I see guys do far more with less.
Me too.
To be completely honest.
And I just want to bring this up too.
Yeah.
He was a winner.
Right.
Like this guy wasn't a guy that was used to losing it. And even though the Bears wasn't pulling those W's together, look how close their games were.
Oh, super.
And it was because of Justin Fields.
Here's my favorite stat. My favorite stat of the 2022 season is the Bears lost 7 straight. But in that 7 straight stretch, the Bears offense scored 31 points each game.
Yeah.
And the defense allowed 32 points.
Yep.
So I mean, fuck, man. Like,
yeah. And how many quarterback honestly, let's look at Derek Carr. How many times did Derek Carr's defense ever not sell out on him? How many times has Derek Carr had to go out and win a shootout?
Yeah.
Like, he has the most fourth quarter. Look at Matt Stafford. Like, Matt Stafford, the same thing. Like, all of those defenses were trash. And it's like, okay, what, like this man can't win, because again, it just comes down to, okay, who has the ball last? Whoever has the ball last gets to win. Like Patrick Mahomes had the same thing. Look at his first or second year with Kansas City, and every time you turn around, the defense is like, well, oh no, we ain't gonna really stop and tackle him. We got Patrick Mahomes. This is all we gave him like 10 seconds to get the ball back.
But hey, so listen,
Yeah.
this is where I wanted to go with it, and this is my question to you guys, right? Rob Scott, what are you doing right now?
I am blowing that tree and enjoying this show with you guys.
Sir, are you sitting?
I am sitting.
All right, I want you to sit because I want you to take a ride with me. I want you to.
All right.
In the
Look, hold on. I grab the L. Let's take a ride through the city of the sun, baby.
Hey, we're gonna hop on LSD. We're gonna do this thing. But listen,
LSD, baby, Lakeshore Drive. Let's ride.
Yeah. Also, I gotta make sure we say that Lakeshore Drive. Don't want anybody going crazy. But to quote Pride, take a ride with me. Take a journey with me. So let's say Justin Fields doesn't perform well.
Okay.
Has a horrible 2023. Going into year 4, you either pick up his 5th year, which I don't even think they can because he got drafted outside of the top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And you have
he has no option.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
The Bears can pick it up, but he can't say I want to opt out of my 5th year.
Exactly. So I'm looking at it like this. The Carolina Panthers, unless I am the worst sports analysis guy you've ever seen, are probably going to be top 3, top 5 in the draft next year. We got that pick. In a draft with Caleb Williams, I just want, man, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to be preying on the guy's downfall, but if Justin Fields doesn't wow you, you have Claypool, Mooney, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, whoever else. Do you entertain that idea of drafting a guy like Caleb Williams before year 4?
I'm not panicking. If I'm the Bears, I don't panic because first of all, you really didn't give Justin Fields a really good first or second year.
Right.
So the guy's practically been having to show how tough he is. Mm-hmm. Now you finally give him some receivers, and we're banking on as fans, this is going to click. Mm-hmm. But let's look at it from a realistic standpoint.
They have not played.
He has to get to know his receivers,
mm-hmm.
and his receivers have to get to know him. He has to know their tendencies. He has to know where they like the ball at best. They have to know where to be open at when he begins to run out of the pocket and he gets to extended plays. They have to make themselves available. Mm-hmm. In a perfect world, the Bears make it to the playoffs next year.
Right.
But in a realistic world, if the Bears can be better than they were this year, I'm not panicking and saying let's call it quits on Justin Fields.
And I love that. Tony, how you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't either. Because, I mean, I look at it in the fact, like Rob said, his first 2 years have been rough. And, I mean, honestly, you look at what he's done, like, he's only gotten better, even though offensively the Bears really haven't. Right. So, I mean, now you give him that. Now, like Rob said, he's going to have to probably build some chemistry with some of these guys. Like, it may be some rough patches, but I see kind of middle of the season, they're probably going to get in a stride. And then if they can keep a lot of those guys, that's probably going to continue on. Now, even if, say, there's still some skepticism at the end of this, right? Like by the time, if you do decide to keep his 5th year option and it don't work out, and if you're like towards the top, who's probably going to be there that you could pick up? The gentleman out of the University of Tejas, as it is right now, whereas number 16 by the name of Archie Manning could potentially be there. I mean, be an option.
Ooh,
I love it.
Now you talking, my boy.
I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to entertain it. But I think that's really something that I look at, though, and I'm like, this is make or break for me for Justin Fields. And I hate to put that on him. I really do. But I will say this to his defense, because I got this dope picture brought to you by ESPN. Don't want anybody thinking I stole it. But I love it. I love every second of it. This, to me, is the picture that I think we all need to be excited about. You saw DJ Moore. That's his tweet below. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be exciting. Cairo Santos, change your fucking number or get off this team. You're missing extra points. I don't want you here anyways. And we're bringing back Robbie.
Mike, don't even worry about it. I say they're going to cut him. They're going to bring back Robbie Gould.
We're going to bring back Robbie Gould.
Hey, we should have never got rid of Robbie Gould. That was the surest thing the Bears ever had.
You want a hot take for the night? You ready?
Go ahead, take it away. Take it away, my boy Mike Hughes.
Robbie Gould never leaves the Bears. The Bears are 2018 Super Bowl champs, and I truly do believe that.
I agree. I agree. Who do we have?
And Mitchell Trubisky still might be a bench player, but he's a Super Bowl fucking
Who did
champion.
who was that guy?
Cody Parkey.
Cody, like what? Oh my God! Like we could have beat the Eagles.
I mean,
I will never forget that. I'll never forgive him for that because the Eagles was the Super Bowl champs that year. Like oh my God!
No, this was their post.
Was this
they
was
were
their, like,
defending.
Super Bowl hangover,
I believe they were
technically.
defending.
Oh, this was the hangover. It doesn't matter. We could have beat them.
Right.
We could have beat them.
100%.
We had them. What it was like 16-16, 13-13, something like that. Like it's like, dude, just hit the point.
Dude,
what is crazy. Wrong with you, dude? Like, didn't he miss like 4 that game?
You know what hurt me? Actually, the crazy part about all of it, and I will defend Cody Parkey to that extent. I still blame Matt Nagy for that game because Cody Parkey actually had more points than the Bears offense did in that game.
I get you. I get you.
My boy had 9 of the 15 points.
You gotta play devil
coach of the year.
You gotta play devil's advocate, and I get that. But my thing is, bro, we did what we were supposed to do. Trubisky actually came through and got you a field goal.
Oh yeah, I don't blame True. Mm-hmm. I don't blame Mitch at all.
No, I'm not saying blame True, but what I'm saying is, out of all of the shit we gave Trubisky as Bears fans, he pulled through and got you in the field goal range.
100%. I mean,
all you have to do is connect.
But you know who else me and Tony did blame for that? Tony, before I let you take it away, I want to drive you down memory lane. Trey Burton just not feeling like playing that game.
Dude, I remember.
And Adam Shaheen, hearing that he's tight end 1, is shaking in the locker room because he's like, fuck, this is Soldier Field in January. Man played better college basketball than he did football.
And you got to think, too, I feel bad for Shaheen because, I mean, y'all remember what they were calling him? Oh, it's Baby Gronk. It's Baby Gronk.
All the time.
I'm like, why you put that expectation on
I do apologize. I didn't mean to do it, but I was just excited.
Man, I'm glad I'm not one of those people that live in the moment like that. Like, you gotta earn. It's a lot you gotta do for me to call you baby anybody.
My fault, dog.
I'm sorry. I get you, and we get like that. You know, that's how all sports teams get. I mean, every 17. Year, Cowboy fans say it's their year. Every year, Bears fans like we can at least make the playoffs. It's like, you know, I get you. We all have those moments, but for me, when it comes to like greatness and individual, because I'm more of an individual player, and this is something that most of the ASAP family, well, I ain't gonna say most. We all know who I'm talking about. He can't see why I can enjoy a team like Golden State and say Steph Curry is my favorite player. Because I realize as much as it's a team sport, it comes down to individual play.
Right.
And I respect great individuals. Like it's something crazy to be called the greatest at what you do at your position. You know what I mean? We call Tom Brady the greatest quarterback. We call Gronkowski the greatest tight end. We call Emmitt Smith the greatest running back. Like you know what I mean? Like, to be the greatest at what you do, it means something to me. So, like, for me to call you baby anything, you have to be a killer consistently. You can't just be a killer for this season. Right. I need to see you kill people on a regular basis. Like,
so what I'm hearing is Aaron Hernandez to you was a baby Gronk.
No, Aaron Hernandez was a big Hernandez and a baby Aaron.
But he killed people. Right? But you saw him kill people.
I did. Well, he killed himself too. So I mean, Lord Jesus, don't get me started down your path, Mike. Stop it, Mike.
Anyway, but to Rob's point,
nope.
Anyway, but you know what I also think kind of hurts a lot of these guys whenever you use like the whole baby term, like you do the comparison and whatnot. Hey, OJ was acquitted, sir. We don't talk about that. OJ
the only thing OJ did was steal merchandise, sir. Hey, if the glove fits.
He ran faster. He ran faster in that Bronco and Port Bills than anything. But anyway, what really hurts, I think, guys, whenever you do the whole baby comparison, like that's honestly what I'm kind of worried about for LeBron James' son is when you make those comparisons early on. That unrealistic expectations, and it's too early to say that. Like, let's take Justin Jefferson for example. Justin Jefferson is a out of this world wide receiver, absolutely killing it. They're like, he's breaking all of Randy Moss's records, Nobody said those words though, like, oh, he's a baby Randy Moss, he's this, he's that. Don't say that. If you want to say that 10 years down the road, like, yeah, is baby Randy
I think
Moss.
it's different.
Yeah.
Say that.
I think it's really
Even 2 or 3 years. Like if you give me 3 consistent years and you just putting up crazy numbers, I'm like, oh yeah, that's baby mouse right there. But
Yeah.
like I've seen people have a great game and they be like, oh, that's baby. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's
Right.
not. And what you say about LeBron James' son is really true because I keep telling people, and I want to make this well known. I love Bronny. Don't get me wrong, but I
Right.
think Bryce is gonna be the beast.
I think Bryce is better. I think
Bryce is the beast.
I think Bryce. I'll say it like this. I think Bronny reminds me of a True Holiday or somebody along those lines. I think he'll be a facilitator. I think he could score, but I think Bryce is a full-blown killer. I think
Like
Bryce
I'm
is
looking
wild.
at Bryce and his feet work. You know, as Shaq like to call it down in the
It's
paint,
crazy.
and the spin moves. The layups with the off hands. I'm like, oh, and now Bryce got the boy on your wings. I
Mhm.
said, oh Lord Jesus. I think Bryce. Hey, he turned them glasses into goggles and he go to work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still though, like, and that's why I feel bad for Bron. And at least Bryce, he may get that depending on what Bronny is able to do. But honestly, you could say that for the whole Ball brothers. Like, you know, they're trying to live up to kind of their dad's expectations, and
Yeah.
it doesn't help
They
that
dad was
LeVar,
bogus.
and it
And
doesn't
their
help
and
that
their dad's
LeVar
better
is-
than Michael Jordan.
like
That's his
and
words, not mine.
look
I
at
ain't say
MJ,
it.
look at Michael Jordan Jr. Like,
Both of them.
like
You look at Michael. Marcus was
Hey,
better. Don't get me wrong.
I'm
I
gonna tell
saw
you something.
Marcus play because Marcus played at Whitney Young, and my cousin was going to Whitney Young at that time, and that was the time I got to actually see Michael Jordan. I was like, oh my God, that's the GOAT, because they got these things called legacy families, and they sit like at the top with it during graduation. I'm looking up there, and I said, oh, that's the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's and what they say, ladies and gentlemen, is true. When you see Michael Jordan in person, it looks like he's levitating. You don't think you're looking at a person. You like that's like a god. Like that's one of those guys you see statues out of. Like I saw the statue outside of the United Center. I'm like, I'm looking at this guy, but I see something more than what he is right now. Like it's crazy. But you know what I mean? Like Marcus was a dog, but Marcus was nowhere near Michael Jordan.
Right. And I think
Nowhere near.
That's just what it is, though. Is like, you know,
I think Layla Ali might have been the only exception to that rule because she was just as great as her father in the women's division.
right. And I think
Layla Ali
there's a
might be
couple
the
people
only
out
name
there.
you can bring up.
I think there's a couple people you could look at and say, you know, they kind of idolize that, and they kind of are who we thought they were. I think Tiger Woods' son is really good too. I think Tiger Woods' son could be really interesting, and to see what he could potentially do, it'll be a lot of fun. But before
And the
we get out of
Mannings,
here,
they're great.
the Mannings are just they're a tree.
The
They're
Mannings
a tree
are
of
great.
fucking
Yeah.
a mobile quarterback.
They just breed greatness.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
They got what Vince McMahon used to call himself, the genetic jackhammer. Like that's what Archie is over there just producing them. You know?
100%.
and you got to think too. We didn't even get to see Cooper Manning play. Like,
oh my God.
Isn't he a lawyer now or something?
I mean, I know he's an analyst for Fox Sports.
I just know he's rich.
But yeah, I know he makes a ton of money. And then of course he's like, here, let me just shoot out Archie Manning right now from the
100%.
Hey, the Mannings just produce greatness, you know, and I'm not mad at them.
Nah, not at all. Hey, but before we get out of here though, Rob, Tone, I want final thoughts around the board. Chicago Bears free agency starts Monday. Biggest moves right now you want to see go down, couple people you want to see on the team, anybody specific, draft, free agency, whatever it is.
I don't have anybody specific. I just want to see positions addressed. So, you know, because you never know in those positions. You know, I don't think people looked at Trent Williams and said Trent Williams was going to become the highest paid offensive lineman ever. You know what I mean? It's just about how good you are. Maybe the Kelsey boys, because, you know, they're just big and they just love what they do. But most offensive linemen, you don't kind of see them coming. They're just guys that know how to protect it and know how to get the job done. So if they can address those offensive line and defensive line issues where we're protecting the quarterback but also getting pressure on the quarterback on the defensive side of the ball, I'm happy with that. So I just want to see positions addressed.
Yeah. I almost said what John Suggs posted, that Thielen to the Bears, and I don't think it would help Fields. I would honestly get Thielen more as like a mentor to Mooney, to Claypool, not
To
as much
more.
to DJ.
I mean, I think he can.
Like
I think there's certain things he could teach DJ, but from an overall perspective, what the fuck are you gonna tell me?
Right. So like that's where I'm like, I feel like he'd be better more for the younger guys. Like, and I think he could still produce, but he wouldn't be my top thing. I'm gonna throw something out to y'all, and y'all tell me what you think.
So, baby,
the Bears are at number 9 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say you trade like one more time with maybe like the Titans, who maybe want to try to go in for like the top 10, the Jets, the Texans are sitting there at 12. You trade again, get you a little bit more draft capital. You're still within the top 15. Just about anybody you want is going to probably still be available, and you get more draft capital to build on. Do you think the Bears should do it if they get the opportunity?
Can I ask you a question first?
Sure.
So let's say I don't know where they're drafting. Let's say they draft 15, right?
Right.
Am I getting 15 Derrick Henry, who they are shopping right now, and another asset? Or am I just getting this first round pick and Derrick Henry?
Well, you got to think. So the Titans are actually sitting at 11. So, I mean.
So we'd only be trading 2 spots back.
Yeah.
I thought they were farther. They were shit. But, come on, Malik. But, I think.
But, Mike, even with that, though, I think.
I would do it for Henry.
Because the Bears haven't really had to spend no money yet. They just letting go of draft capital.
100%.
So we still had one of the highest salary cap.
I think I believe right now it's sitting.
I believe if we say, hey, Tennessee, you want to move up to 9 and we'll throw you this X amount of money for Derrick Henry, they don't think about it.
I mean, listen. So I knew going into today, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, we were at $96 million. And with that, I would say probably now we're at 80 something after getting DJ Moore. Probably. I know it's a $36 million deal. I think it's till 2026. So I think we're in a good spot right now.
Yeah.
Would I want to go into free agency with 70 if we acquire Derrick Henry? I don't know. When you can just draft one or get David Montgomery for the free, like damn near free. So I think it really does. It makes you think, how good do you think we're going to be? Because if we're in a position, if you're thinking we're going to win the North in 2024, 2025, okay, cool. Let's draft the running back.
We might get right now because I don't think if you look at the North landscape right now,
that's what I was going to ask you.
Where's Aaron Rodgers going to be?
Right, Aaron's gone.
He's going to be.
I think Detroit is going to take a step up.
Yeah,
but I think Minnesota take a step back.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen them kind of take a step back because you look at the fact that they released Thielen. Zadarius Smith asked to be cut.
He said,
"So I mean,
no, Tony, not traded. Cut me.
Yeah, just let me go.
I want to go home.
Yeah,
Mom, come pick me up. I'm scared. Like
if somebody say cut me, boy, that's bad.
And you got to think too. They're shopping Dalvin Cook.
Right, but weirdly enough, you win the division.
Wait, they shopping Dalvin Cook too?
They are shopping Dalvin Cook.
Hey, Mike.
No, thank you.
What if you don't look at Derrick Henry? You look at I don't know. I don't know.
He's another one that he's injury prone. Like he's good when he's healthy.
But Derrick Henry's been injury prone.
Rob Scott, from my fantasy team's heart, no. Because
Derrick Henry has been injury prone. Cam Akers was injury prone. I mean, most of your if you're one of those teams that's relying on your backs, they're going to be injury prone.
But I think that's the conversation you're having right now is fully healthy Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook. I'm taking Derrick Henry.
Of course you're going to take Derrick Henry. Yeah. But if you're saying I can't get Derrick Henry and I can get Dalvin Cook, that's not a bad concession price.
It's not. I also don't like trading within the division though. I'm one of those guys.
I'm cool with trading in the division.
I'm not cool.
Any way that's gonna make me better than you, I'm cool with it.
See, you know why I'm not though? because Tony and I have had this conversation before when the Cowboys were going to trade at the deadline, and I said, why don't you go after a guy like Terry? This was like 2 years ago when Washington was in shambles. He said, Tony, let me know if I'm wrong. He said, because if we fuck up, I'm never going to hear the end of it. And I said, I agree. Because you look at the situation. Hey, remember when everyone said Aaron Rodgers should be on the Bears? Because we said, hey, it's really fuck the Packers. It's not fuck Aaron Rodgers unless you're Tony.
I never said that.
Yeah.
Well, I said that. I was down with it. I said, yo, listen,
hate Aaron Rodgers.
I will take your bitch and we will run to the moon together. Like, that's where I was with it. Because we still had Mac, we still had Quinn, we still had Roquan, everybody else. I was down.
The only Packer quarterback I never had a problem with was Brett Favre up until now.
Oh, so you just like guys who steal from kids. But yeah.
I said up until now.
And I just wanted to state that it happened because no one talks about it. You stole, Brett. Hey, oh wait, no, I can't say that because then he's gonna try to sue me like he sued Pat.
No, he stole that money.
My bad, B.
Anytime you ask, hey, and I don't care, I'm gonna keep repeating that. Anytime you ask, is anybody gonna find out about this? You know you doing something wrong.
Right. Tony, did you have anything else though that you thought the Bears should address?
No, I mean that was honestly my big thing was like potentially the Thielen and if they're going to trade down because like I said, you build more draft capital. Like this is a draft that's deep enough. Like they got DJ Moore, they've kind of addressed the wide receiver, and this is a really heavy offensive line draft. Like you can get a lot of dudes in this draft. Like you ain't gonna be hurting if you trade back a couple spots again.
Yeah, for me personally, and I want to say it somewhere on air because I just feel it in my bones. I think Adam Thielen goes to Kansas City. I think looking at that and saying maybe we don't need to re-sign Juju because you know how Juju feels. He wants his money now. And I think, he really didn't contribute the way he thinks he did. So I think bringing in a guy like Adam Thielen, I don't think.
Keep it real. Juju ain't do shit.
He really
I'm sorry.
No, he did. You know what he did? Juju got a holding call. That's what Juju got.
Juju got a holding call. That's on God. Juju was in the right place at the right time. On God.
Hey, facts.
Keep that a bucket as a former DB was a hold. We got to get over it. It was definitely.
This was fun,
admitted it was a hold.
I like this.
But for me, Orlando Brown Jr., huge. I definitely think that needs to be a conversation. I always butcher his name out of San Francisco. He's an offensive tackle. Mike McGlesky, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
McClowy. There's like 69 for the.
Yeah. Haven't had a good 69 since Jared Allen. I'm excited about it. But yeah, it's really going to be something where I think offensive line is a huge addition. And I think depending on how that goes, man, I wish Rob was here because I got another follow-up. Payne got tagged by the Commanders.
Yeah.
So I want to see the trenches get addressed.
Mm-hmm.
If somehow, some way, Jalen Carter ends up at 9. Oh, Rob's back. Let me re-ask the question once we get Rob back in here. Rob Scott, baby, are you with us?
My bad. I did not mean to hit that button.
It's okay. So listen, I'm just talking about what I think we got to do.
Yeah.
Tony, what's bro's name again?
Oh, Matt McGlowy.
Yeah, Matt McGlowy.
Oh, the other guy.
Out of San Francisco, number 69.
Mm-hmm.
You got look at an offensive lineman like that. Orlando Brown Jr., a guy like that. Paris Johnson could potentially be drafted number 9. Our guy at Northwestern, a stud. Peter looks great. I'm gonna call him Pete's because I don't know how to say his last name. But I think right now, Rob, Tony, it's our last topic of the night. Somehow, some way, by everything just going to complete shit, Jalen Carter ends up available at number 9. Do the Chicago Bears draft Jalen Carter?
I mean, they might, and honestly, he might, because I mean that whole issue probably hurt his draft stock.
Bad.
You talking about the guy from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I you know what? I was banking on the Bears getting him.
I was too.
I'm still banking on the Bears getting him.
Yeah, because I mean, the only there's a couple.
We accept you, bro.
They say there's a couple.
Hey, wait, Tony, real quick. You ain't the only murderer in this city. It's cool, bro. It's all.
Hey, you know what? Not you know what though? Because let me just say this, Tony, and I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
What he did was wrong, as
Right.
far as lying to the police,
But he
as
didn't.
far as you know what I'm saying. Well, he didn't tell the truth,
Right.
so that's a lie.
But I think
So he
what you're
lied
about
to
to say is
police,
what I'm about to
and
say.
he left the scene
Right. But he is
before
not
the
a murderer.
investigation.
You know
But
what
he
I
didn't
mean?
do nothing.
No.
Yeah.
It's
He
like
didn't put a gun in nobody's head and say race me. He didn't. He didn't drive the car that crashed. And God rest the souls and bless the souls in the families
Mhm.
of the car that crashed and had the deceased. You know, God rest their souls. But for you to put that weight on his shoulder,
right.
they both took a risk and raced each other. It
It
just didn't
reminds
happen well for one driver or in his passenger.
it
So
reminds
you
me
know
of
what I
this,
mean? I
man.
just hate that people are like calling this dude a murderer when he
Yeah.
didn't do nothing.
You remember what happened with T. Higgins, right? With
Yeah,
what was man
you talking
Hamlin?
about with the crash, right?
What was Tony? What was his name? The guy that had a heart
No,
attack
I'm
on the
thinking
field.
about the dude from.
DeMar
Damar
Hamlin.
Hamlin.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my boy from.
You thinking about Henry? Henry did that shit.
Yeah,
100%.
Henry
Henry's a
Rugg.
fucking
Yeah,
piece of
yeah,
shit. But
yeah.
so when with Damar Hamlin, a lot of people were coming at T. Higgins on public national television
When they
saying,
said that he hit him and
yeah, and it's
that hit was
listen,
the cause of him having that heart attack.
it just happened.
It
And
That was a
happened.
freak
it's
accident.
The doctor really described it as the perfect storm.
right.
Oh yeah.
And it's really something for me. I know it's two totally different situations, and I'm sure someone's having a stroke right now just watching this because they're pissed at me because
Fuck
I
him.
compared it. Fuck them, to be honest. But I think, listen, and Rob and I and Tony too, Indiana don't play, come from two very different places, and we're in a world where street racing's a normal thing.
I've seen it. I've been to street races.
I bet, dude.
I've raced people on the E-way. Like,
Dude, I'll be I'm in a 2002 acting like I'm Paul Walker in Fast Five.
dude, I was in a Honda, a '96 Honda with a sunroof, and I thought I was the shit back in the day.
100%.
Champagne color, and we used to race, and I used to win.
You just gotta not be as scary as the other dude, bro. And
You
you'll
just
win
gotta
no
make
matter
it
what.
through. You gotta make it through. Boy, I made all six of them cylinders go to work. Like
100%. My
but like
recoil kind of fucked up
it's a
after, but
normal thing. Am I saying that it's right? No. Am
it's
I
not
saying that
right.
we condone it? No. But
But
what
are
I'm
you
saying
upset at
is
a
people
21-year-old
do it.
kid?
And if something, God forbid, something would have happened to me, don't blame the other guys that was racing me. I raced on my own accord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And like I said, God bless their souls. God keep their souls closer to Him, and hope that we can find peace like that one day. You know what I'm saying? When we pass away, you know, and that's all I'm saying. You know, we just don't condemn this man. Don't put the weight of the world on that man's shoulder and say that he killed somebody. 'Cause that's deep to say that. To say that you killed somebody, he didn't do that.
Yeah. And honestly, like it sucks for him too, because like y'all said, you know, he didn't actually kill him. He didn't force him to race. He didn't do none of that. Now again, he lied.
He lied. Yes, he lied,
And honestly,
and that's wrong.
to keep it a bean though,
That's wrong, though. No, he
you
should
want
have
to look at
stayed there
me.
for the investigation.
You want to look at me and tell me that a 21-year-old intoxicated
I would have
wouldn't
got the hell out of there.
9 times out of 10 wouldn't get the hell out of there.
I would have got the
Oh,
hell
yeah.
out of there because I'm pretty
100%.
sure
I get it. Like, I get
scholarship implications on that. Me getting kicked out of school, me getting kicked off this team, me not making it to the NFL. I can only imagine the things that was running through his
100%.
mind at
So
that
I
moment.
think
Oh, yeah.
that's something too. I mean, the character is there. You know what I mean? It shows what kind of character he has. And that's definitely something, you know, character isn't something you're born with. I believe that. I believe it's instilled. I believe it can change over time as well. I believe an amazing person can get some money and turn into a shithead. I do believe Antonio Brown was a good dude at some point in time. And I think to Tony's point, you know, I look at a kid like this, you know, there's a lot of different guys out there. I'm 22. I coach kids but play baseball. So like they look at me as like a standard. But that's not how everybody sees it.
Yeah.
You know, a 2-time back-to-back champion intoxicated looks at that and goes, I'm the shit. I could do whatever. And what was he in, Tony? A 2021 Trackhawk Jeep or some crazy shit?
Yeah, and let's be realistic too, because and I don't mean to compare situations, but there's been other dudes that have still been able to come back and play in the NFL that has
Far
done
worse.
way worse shit,
Far worse.
way worse.
Way worse.
Look at the
I'm talking
punter.
about
Look at the punter of the Bills.
first-hand violators.
Like Adrian Peterson. You look at hell, Aaron
Kareem Hunt.
Hernandez. The entire time he was being charged, he still played the whole season.
And
Like, you
Kareem
look at
Hunt's
AP,
another one.
Ray
too.
Rice. Ray Rice.
Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis.
Hey, Ray Lewis, right? He was a murderer, right?
Yeah, he was accused of it.
Yeah.
Like
it happens.
But yeah, so to recap, what was supposed to be a 2-second thing of me talking about Jalen Carter.
Hey, you know, when you get us three on the mic, baby,
man,
it's
it
real
just
conversation.
But I think, to say this in the correct way, I don't know if Chicago is the greatest place for Jalen Carter, but I do think Matt Eberflus is the best coach for him, one of the best coaches for him. I think he's somebody who can work with that. He's a player's coach. He's a no-nonsense type of guy. Now, would Flus want to take a guy like that? I don't know. I don't know if he would even want that problem or that conversation, but that's where I'm really looking at. I want to address the trenches on both ends, offensive line and defense. I think those are the most important. I think we have one of the best secondaries when healthy. I think we should bring in another nickel, something along those lines. Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker, who's going to be an all-pro. I stand on that. You look at Kyler Gordon, who I really started to like towards the end of last season. You still got Jalen Johnson. Got to get that contract going, baby. Got to get that extension. And I think we have something special. And don't forget my boy Jack Sanborn out of Illinois. I think he's going to be special too. He had a couple bright spots. But really just overall, the trenches. And if you can land a guy like Jalen Carter, I say fuck it.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me worry is, so if we look at the picks, so you got Seattle at 5, they need a D-line. You got Detroit, they need a D-line.
Hey, but Vegas, Tony, can I ask you this?
What's up?
All right, so right now, as it stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at a team like Seattle, and then you see another team like Arizona at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Seattle moves the moon to get to 3 to get Anthony Richardson? And then obviously Arizona picking at 5 takes Will Anderson.
Right. I don't think they do, because I think because of the money that they gave Geno Smith, the fact that they're willing to put that investment into him. Because I listened to an interview that Geno Smith actually did yesterday. The amount of trust that Pete Carroll put into him and the amount of praise that he gave Geno, because when they traded Russell Wilson, the biggest question they asked was who's going to be your quarterback? Like who's going to be the guy? And apparently Pete Carroll said without like any hesitation, no second guess, Geno. Geno's our guy.
My boy, you saw Drew Lock, Horsecock Lock was on the other end. I would have said Geno too. 10 times out of 10.
100%. Because as soon as I saw they traded,
but Geno deserved it though. Geno deserved it after the year that he had, man. But what he came back and hey, it was people, including myself. I was like, man, Geno was a bust, and Geno proved me wrong. And I have never been so happy to be proved wrong in my life. But I was happy at that moment.
I also think, to Tony's point earlier about Anthony Richardson, again, 4 games without a touchdown. I don't really know how he's going to be with an Ohio State type offense or a legitimate offense with weapons like Noah Fant, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, everybody else they got throughout that organization.
Kenneth Walker as a running back.
Yeah. I forgot his name. That's why I was taking a second. But Kenneth Walker is such a huge name. But that's the beauty of Geno's contract. It's the first 2 years is the most money. And Anthony Richardson reminds me of a Jordan Love, not by their game, but in I need you to sit for a couple years and figure this shit out because you didn't impress me enough in college. I think that's a perfect situation where, hey, Anthony, listen, this is your team. You are going to hold the reins. It's going to be you with DK and Kenneth going to the moon together. Maybe Noah too. I don't really care. But tight ends or whatever. But it's something for me where the experiment with Geno, okay, cool. So now we got our franchise quarterback. Now we can focus on winning games because Anthony can sit and hang out while Geno goes out here and balls out. And and to Rob's point, up until this year, Geno was a bust.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and say that Geno's going to replicate that season. I'm not going to say he's not, but I think it's worth getting another quarterback.
That's a valuable point, and I say this too in the Jordan Love comparison. and I hate to give this man credit, but I got to give him credit.
Mm.
It's more intimidating to sit behind an Aaron Rodgers than it is a Geno Smith.
Oh, I bet
yeah.
Geno's a great guy to be with. I mean,
Mhm.
you sit with Aaron. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? He's on mushrooms. He goes, "Fuck you." You got
Not
any
even
drugs?
just that. I'm talking about from a talent standpoint.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is not gonna lose his starting position
But that's
because
the
we
thing
say what
about
we
Geno.
want to about him in the postseason,
Mhm.
but during the regular season, that man is a god.
That's
Well, and
Geno,
that-
though. That's what Tony said.
Yeah.
Tony's big problem, and me and him both agree. Tony, unless I'm wrong, unless you don't agree with me, but Anthony's thing is, what do you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's where Geno picks it apart, and that's where he's great. So I think if you can learn that from Geno within these next 2 years and develop, I think Seattle's going to be nasty.
Well, and to Rob's point, to me, there's more pressure on Jordan Love because, I mean, you think about it. Aaron Rodgers had to, fill Brett Favre's shoes. Aaron Rodgers did it with no problem. Like, they knew coming out, Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to do that. Jordan Love, there's a lot of questions behind that. With Anthony, to your point, Mike, if you got to learn from Geno, there's not going to be a lot of expectations. Like, hey, we don't really know what to expect from Geno. Like, if we win a few games, if we get to the wild card, like, cool, we did it. If not, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like throwing Andy Dalton and Nick Foles and being like, "Hey, teach Justin Fields everything about being the best runner in football." And they were like,
Yeah, it is.
"Yeah, okay."
It is. I mean, think about the
That's what's
quarterback
up.
that Justin Fields came behind.
Andy was
He,
great,
he
though.
came
I love
behind
Andy.
a horrible pick in Trubisky, and I'll
Mhm.
scream that to this day. I get a lot of people show Trubisky love, and Trubisky will always have a soft place in my heart because he was a Bears quarterback. But at the end of the day, that was a horrible pick. Like, we could have had Patrick Mahomes. Like, it was a horrible pick.
I mean, you
But
can't be wrong.
I mean, yeah, honestly. But all that aside, you come behind a Trubisky led, Andy Dalton led, Nick Foles after the Magic led Chicago Bears team.
Right.
There was really, honestly, it shouldn't have been as many expectations on Justin Fields as it was.
Right.
But everybody saw how he was in college.
And
And I want people to remember how he was in college because now he has weapons.
tell them, Rob, that was my big thing too. Tony and I said this. No one says it to this day. I think it's weird, and I think Carolina is about to do the same exact thing, except it's a little different. I think the weird thing, and I don't think they're going to fire their GM or their head coach because obviously they just hired Frank, but Justin came into a situation where he was drafted by a regime that was about to be fired. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. And the weird thing was, normally when you get a quarterback, you're already rebuilding. You already just had the worst season of all. Like, if let's say we didn't draft Justin Fields in 2021, this was the year we were going to draft the quarterback. We were going to get CJ Stroud or we were going to get Bryce Young because the team we put together showed it. But in 2021, you still had Robert Quinn, who had 19 and a half sacks. You had Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Roquan Smith, Jalen Johnson, Eddie Jackson. I mean, you had some dogs. Allen Robinson was still there. You had David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, and obviously, dude, who was there? Jimmy Graham and a bunch of other guys.
Jimmy Graham was my guy.
That was your guy. And I think that was the weird thing, was there was all these expectations because the team was still in this, hey, we're ready to win now. We went 12-4, 8-8, and 8-8. We got to win. And Justin was like, yo, man, I'm just trying to get by. Like, I'm just trying to get in here. Like, I'm trying to get my feet wet. And they want him to jump into the deep end. And I think that was the big problem, was all the fans were like, yo, we need to win. We have a quarterback now. But they didn't look at it from Justin's perspective, which was, I don't know what the fuck's going on, and I need a minute to figure this out. And the team that you were in love with in 2018 is not this team. And I think that was the big thing too, was Nagy was awful. Bill Lazor was awful. I mean, everybody and their mama was just underperforming outside of Robert Quinn, to be honest. And I think that was one of the big things. So I'm excited. We're going to get out of here. It was an amazing show with my guy, Tony, my guy, Rob Scott.
Amazing. That's not even a word, dude. I think we found our groove with this three. I don't know. I love it.
Big three question mark.
Big three?
I love it. Hey, Big Three. Hold on. Is that a new podcast?
Big three? The Big Three pod? The Big
Hey, I just don't know. I'm just saying though. I really enjoyed this show. Like we had our levels of fuck it, and then we had our levels of of true professionalism. I felt like that was the
Ooh.
groove, baby.
Ooh. And I do wanna answer one last question before we get out of here. I'm gonna just say yes for all three of us. Damien, we appreciate you being here. My guy Damien said, question, if the Bears are out of luck with Will Anderson, which I would say is a 99.9% chance that we are out on Will Anderson unless we trade up, which do not think that's happening. Do you think the Bears are going after free agent Bobby Wagner? To answer that, I'm going to say yes.
Mhm.
And the reason I say yes, I like Jack Sanborn. I think he's going to be a stud, but I also haven't seen enough. I think Bobby's that nice bridge gap to a linebacker that we draft later on. I think a 1-year deal of Bobby Wagner, I ain't mad about it. Are you mad about it?
No. And I mean, again, is one of
Yeah.
those kind of like Adam Thielen. He serves as a mentor role. Like
Right.
he and
And
he
he's
could
still
still
a dog.
produce. Yeah,
Right.
like he produced really well for the Rams last year. Like he produced better than what I thought he was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it ain't gonna hurt. And again, if it's a 1-year deal, it ain't gonna kill your cap. You still don't have a ton of cap. And if it doesn't work, well, it don't work. Move on next year.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, but I'm not paying him the max, even
No.
for a 1-year deal.
Nope.
It's a 1 year, 100% of 1 year, probably like
Yeah.
$5-6 million. I would imagine $7
Yeah.
million.
Mhm.
Nothing
Yeah,
too
like
crazy.
if I can get away with that and he's willing to come over
Mhm.
just to play with this historic franchise. Not to mention we're in the middle of our stadium rebuild, so I'm really
Oh.
excited for how this Arlington Heights thing is gonna look. Because one of the things I hated about the Bears, and I know we're about to end, I just got to say this:
Yeah,
I love Soldier Field, but Soldier Field was just there for a name.
dumpster fire.
There's no reason to like kick it at that stadium. Now I feel like I'm gonna tell my wife, like, let's go to Arlington Heights and go kick it at the Bears Stadium.
Right. Do you remember?
Like,
Do you remember World War Z?
yes.
You remember where everyone's climbing at the wall?
Yeah, and
That's
they're
what
trying to get
Soldier
up.
Field
Yeah,
parking lot is like. And
that's
I think
that's what the stadium is like.
that
It's not
it's
fun
bad.
at all.
It's bad. I mean, it's
It's not a
freezing
stadium you like. Oh, that's on my list. Like I want to
You
go to
know,
SoFi. I want to go to the arena in Vegas. Like
Yeah.
I like Soldier Field is like, yeah, I'll go to Soldier Field just to say I've been to Soldier Field.
Yeah, 100%.
Now I think people want to go to the Bears Stadium, especially if this rebuild goes how I think it's going to go,
Without a
based on the
doubt.
plans.
But with that being said, real quick before we get out of here, Tony, I want you to pop off everywhere everybody can find you other than the All Sports All Plays Network, obviously. But
Yeah.
what shows are we on? Podcasts, anything?
You can mainly find me on my own podcast. It's at the Inside the Hoosier Mind. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm even on TikTok. I'm also on the new sports app called The Stunt, which is Michael Irving's version of TikTok, basically, by the looks of it. You can find me on there too. And you can find me on Twitter at Hoosier Mind. I'm traveling a lot currently, so I'm not on Big 10 plus 4 episodes. I'm still a part of them, but I'm not doing the college basketball as much currently as the moment.
Without a doubt. Rob Scott, baby. I know it's coming back. I know it's in the works, but where are they going to be able to find you?
Oh man, you can find me Rob's 2 cents everywhere. It's coming back, trust me. I've been, but it's coming back. And also you can find us on the Life podcast, you know what I'm saying, where we just talking about everything.
Yep.
And then also, whatever Chicago thing is happening, you can find me in my cues there. You feel me?
Without a doubt. You can find me at the Shy.Kid on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, especially TikTok, because I ain't gonna lie to you, I just be resharing shit on Twitter. I don't know how to post things, but you could always find me there or on Mike on the Mic. I really just do the YouTube now, the podcast stuff. I got tired of walking around holding my phone. So with that being said, if you want to find all three of us and a lot of other people that do amazing work like Frankie Cruz, Jay McLovin, Chris Gonzo, and Pops, who got to check out the other day's episode. Pops was going a little fucking crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you, but he was having himself a day.
Hold on, and my boy Pride. You gotta throw Pride.
I was saving the best for last.
You gotta save the best
and
for last.
Pride from Prideful Takes. Had to save it. And so many others throughout this network. They do amazing work. You can find us on the All Sports All Plays Network. We're on TV now, and there's a whole advertisement for that, and there's a whole script that I'm supposed to read, but nobody ever sent it to me. So.
But still, shout out Jay Ness. My guy.
You can go message Jay Ness or Ray Cruz and find out all about it. And if they don't message with you, which they probably won't because they really suck at texting you back, you find my guy right here, Tony Hollinsworth.
My boy Tony.
Tony runs this network on the low, just keeping it a bean. But with that being said, Bear down, baby. Welcome DJ Moore to the Chicago Bears. Number 2. Gonna be looking nice with that jersey. We are out.
What a
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.